All right, we are less than a month away from the election. It's coming fast, isn't it? And this year is expected to see a record turnout for voters. But with the coronavirus pandemic, changes are being made, and some voters might be a little worried about heading to the polls as far as safety goes. Javi's here with more on what you can do to make sure your vote is cast and counted.
Yeah, most importantly, let's start with the headline today. Today is the last day to register to vote, and early voting actually begins October 7th. That is Wednesday. Experts suggest voters have a pandemic voting plan in place to make sure that their ballots are cast. So what do you need to know? We're joined now by Gina Roberts, Voter Education Director for the Clean Elections Commission. First and foremost, thank you very much for joining us. What's it going to look like if you go to the polls this year?
Of course, good morning. Thank you for having me. When voters go to the polls this year, what they'll see is they will see their poll workers who will be in PPE and the personal protective equipment. So they will have masks, gloves, face shields. They will also see inside the polling place, the voting booths will be spread out more to allow for social distancing. The polling places will be sanitized. They will be cleaned regularly throughout the day. There will be markings on the floor, just like you see in the supermarkets at some of our voting locations to help guide voters and ensure that social distancing. So really what you're going to see is you will see your poll workers who are going to be safely protected for the benefit of both the poll workers and the voters.
We've seen crazy lines in the past here in Arizona. How will folks waiting in line, how will they be kept apart?
That's a great question. So again, social distancing measures will be in place. So the guidelines recommended by the CDC and the 6 feet distancing, that will be in place as well too. So just like as if you go to the grocery store and you have to wait in line to get in sometimes, the same thing will apply here. So poll workers will be doing their duty and making sure that voters are socially distanced apart.
Will those poll workers be tested?
No, actually. So my understanding from the county is that it is not a requirement that the poll workers be tested. However, of course, if any of our poll workers are feeling ill, the counties are in constant communication with them. And so they do have a great communication path open. And that way, if any poll workers are feeling ill, they will communicate that to the counties so that they can act accordingly.
I know you said the booths will be cleaned regularly. What about the pens that everyone uses and touches?
Of course, that's a great question. So it differs a little bit in each county. Some of our counties have single-use pens available for voters, so they are only used one time. Some counties will be disinfecting each of the pens after each use. And then in some counties as well, voters, you are welcome to bring your own pen in with you. So if that's an option that makes you feel more safe, you can certainly bring your own marking device in.
Speaking of bringing stuff, what should the voter bring with them to make sure the whole process is more streamlined and easy without any hiccups?
Of course, well, we definitely want voters to mask up. So voters should be bringing their own face covering with them. And we ask voters to be prepared. So know who you're going to vote for before you go into that polling place. Because the quicker you can fill out that ballot, then you are limiting your exposure time inside that voting location. And so bring your sample ballot with you. If you're voting early, bring in your voter guide that you received from Clean Elections. Bring in your publicity pamphlets. So know who you're going to vote for before you go into that voting location. And once again, mask up.
I know there's been some talk and the president calling out to his supporters to go to the polls and make sure that everything is running correctly out there. Do you guys have plans in place to make sure there's no voter intimidation or anything like that and folks can get in and out as easy as possible?
Of course, and that's true for every election. So in Arizona, it is against the law to intimidate a voter or prevent them from entering in a voting location. In Arizona, the law is also campaigning, electioneering cannot occur within 75 feet of the polling place. So every voting location has poll workers. They have a marshal who is out there and monitoring that activity. And if a voter has any concerns, they can talk to that marshal. And of course, they can contact the county and they will try to deal with that directly. And of course, the counties are also in communication with law enforcement if need be. However, that's true for every election. So it's always been against the law to intimidate voters, and our poll workers are well trained in what to do if that scenario comes up.
We thank you very much for all the information, keeping everybody safe out there.
Thank you.